Hello everyone. Today we will see how we can maximize the window using Playwright. So it is very simple. Let me open my framework here. So open Playwright framework from your end as well and look for playwright config.ts. As we know that this is a configuration file. We do all the framework configuration from playwright config.ts file, right? So this is a main file. So under this, there is a project settings. Under the project settings, you can change the browser behavior, whether we would want to maximize or minimize, on what scale we have to run, and what scale means, and what resolution we have to run the browser to make application uh, more reachable and accessible, right? So those settings we can do it. So when you install the Playwright, by default, Playwright will give you this simple piece of code, right? So if I run it now, so I'm not going to walk you through any code, run any sample scripts you have. So I'm running a sample script right now. So with the default settings, let's see like how browser will Playwright will open a browser. See, so this is not a full screen. So by default, a Playwright has its own, you know, device settings, right? So resolution settings, which was already there in the background, right? So if user don't mention anything, it will work with the default uh, values defined in the background, right? So let me uncomment this and let's try to see how we can maximize the browser now, right? So it is very easy, just that we have to in normally in projects under use section to control browser capabilities, we have a object called launch options. This is a options which will be provided by Playwright. We have to under this we have to define our arguments for the browser, whether we have to not only for maximize minimize screens, we can handle device scale factors, etc., etc., right? So for that, the syntax we have to remember. It is very easy. Args. See, my copilot is already suggesting me that, so I just give it a tab. So this is a syntax we have to remember. Under project settings, under use, under launch options, we have to pass these arguments hyphen hyphen start maximized, right? So if I run it again, let's see what is the behavior now. See, Playwright is maximizing the browser, but it is not fitting into the screen, right? So this is because, as I said earlier, so some of the variables Playwright took as default values, which was defined in the background, right? So that's why a couple of things we have to manually mention here, right? So viewport we have to mention it as null. Otherwise, what will happen? Playwright assumes that user didn't mention anything, and so that I have to use whatever the predefined variables which were there and the background. I mean to say background in the sense, if you go to the node modules here here in the Playwright configuration, but default behavior was already defined in the methods which were implemented for Playwright from Microsoft, right? So that it will use that. So if you define explicitly that this is null, viewport is null, I don't want to define any viewport, I just want to maximize the browser, right? So in that case, what will happen? It will maximize the browser, and it will fit the browser into your screen, so that we can see all this helpful. This is very helpful for when it comes to reporting. So the screenshots, video recording, traces, everything we can see very clearly, right? So if I run it again, let's see now. See now, we're able to see the maximized window. That too, it fits into the screen, right? So it is very simple. And also one more thing that I would want to cover as part of this is device scale factor, right? Uh, why I'm why I would wanted to cover this topic is because I see lot of I see in lot of projects. For example, imagine this is a project, right? So like open, let me open any sample website. So imagine this is a project you are working on right now in your company, right? So this has some resolution defined already from backend. So in some cases, they recommend us, they would recommend us to use 60% of a zoom level or 80% of a zoom level in browser in order to make things work properly in UI, right? So things means elements. In order to elements interact each other properly, they may recommend us to use 80% of a zoom level or 90% of a zoom level. In such cases, we no need to write any separate uh, library or separate util class for that, util method for that. So simply what we can do is if we can add an option in the same arguments saying hyphen hyphen force device scale factor. So let's give it as one. One means imagine that. So why? See, this is nothing to do with a zoom level of a browser. I just give it as an example, this scenario, right? So device scale factor is different and the browser zoom level is different. But we no need to zoom in or zoom out while running the scripts. That may leads to some other failures or reporting sometimes not good, looks good. So that's why we can set device scale factor ratio so that whatever the device scale factor ratio we would want it to work, we the browser will also open in that device scale factor so that everything will fit into the screen. For example, if I if you can see this project, if I go to the desktop and if I go to the display settings, you see here this is a scale factor of my device. So if I reduce it to or increase it to 125, what will happen? It will zoom in the screen, the ratio, right? So everything it will zooms in. If I go to, if I select 150, it is way bigger than before. So if I open my Chrome, see how the application is looking like, right? So sometimes what will happen in a project, the elements will, if they don't handle properly the resolution and all, the elements will may not interact each other properly, right? So in such cases, they may recommend us to work with 80% of a zoom level. Then we have to go here and we have to adjust the screen. We no need to do that from automation, right? Simply. So the similar thing we can achieve that device scale factor in Playwright itself, right? So this looks good now. See. So that's why if I let me close this one and see, right now force device scale factor equals to 1 means imagine I said to 100%. 100% means I don't think you see a much difference. If I run again, just for remembering purpose, you just refer this one means 100%, like in a ratio way. Right now, see in the browser, you didn't see any much difference. It is normal browser that Playwright opens up and doing some automation, right? So if I say to see the difference, right? Normally I used to maintain at 0.7. It means 70%. So to make more difference, so I will go for 5 and now see, and I'll try to put a weight here. Let me add a weight, more weight. Let me add a 10,000 seconds so that we can have time to see how browser is behaving, right? So if I run it again, so this piece of code we have to remember. Now see, this looks very small and tiny, right? So in such cases, what will happen? The application fits according to the device scale factor ratio, what we set, so that we no need to zoom in or zoom out in the code. So it will work accurately. That's what, right? So in that way, you can handle those kind of a situations. Yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you got how we can maximize browser using Playwright, and also how we can set the device scale factor using Playwright. So thank you very much for watching.